Hi, it's Darren from SimNation again. Just want to do a quick video on rounds 4 and 5 of our draft. So I'm going to dive straight in, but if you're looking to join us, there's some really good teams still open, and some of these teams I've drafted very well from a CPU perspective, and I would highly recommend taking a look at them. But for me, rounds 4 and 5 are where you're finding people who will make your roster or either develop over time, maybe the hidden gem who may start. For those familiar with the league, this is where I found Paul Hollingsworth, who was Pittsburgh's legendary quarterback. Um, Not quite on the legend of some of the people like Peter has, like Raynor. But Raynor was also, I think, if I remember correctly, like a first round pick, whereas Hollingsworth was a fifth round pick. This is also last year where I found Clarence Arilano, who is the running back who ran for over 1,200 yards, almost 100 yards per start. So you definitely can find value in the fourth and fifth round, but traditionally I view the fourth round as a development round for me. Maybe get a contributor or someone in the rotation based on specific need. Fifth round is someone who's probably going to make my team but may not start for a few seasons. As we move into the sixth and seventh round, I'm looking for people who probably be on my practice squad or who are just worth taking the risk, and I'm okay with burning the pick. I'm going to move into the recap real quick, and then I'm going to transition quickly into what's left. Um, so I'm not going to go through every team. Mostly because I want to keep this video short. But picks that stand out to me is New York Giants. This is Cable. Really good pick with Jimmy Milligan. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the draft from a passing perspective. So to get him in the fourth round was a pretty big steal for Cable, who's having a really good draft. I really like this pick. Um, uh, Shark moved up to get Sean Cunningham. I think that was a smart move on his part. He got himself a really good weak side coverage linebacker who's only going to get better. So this was a really strong pick for him. So great work there, Shark, with trading up to get at him. Other people who stand out is I like Paul Walker. So this is JP. He's one of our new coaches. This is a good solid pick at the fourth round. He, in some cases, may be able to start this year, but I think you just let him develop, and I think you're going to end up with a really good tight end. I'm sorry, tackle. I also like the pick of Archie Solis. He's someone that the computer actually thought should go in the first or second round. Uh, he got him in the fourth round, so good job, Bio Eager. This is someone who should be able to contribute in your secondary almost right away. It's the CPU, but I like Les Jackson as a pick. I've talked about him a few times. He's right where I thought he would be, and this is just a really good pick in the fourth round. He actually probably will be able to start for them. Other people that I think that stand out to me is Invisible Witness is also having a really good draft. I'm only going to mention this pick is because we've been following Tyson DeVito for a while. He is faster than anyone thought he was. That 100 is a top end speed. The hands are decent. The problem is you need to give him the ball, get your offensive line to move everyone out of the way, and then once he busts past the linebackers, no one's going to catch him. So this is a good change of pace back, and we'll see how he develops. But that's a solid pick. Just the 100 speed alone kind of differentiates him, though. Another pick I really liked was Don Lucky. Picked Leslie Hagel. I was high on Hagel as a strong safety. To me, he can come in on passing downs right away, and over time, he should develop into a pretty good starting every down strong safety. Chester Spill, I think this is Frankie's guy, actually. This is just a phenomenal fullback. I had mentioned him a few times that he really had the speed of a running back, the strength of like an offensive lineman. Uh, I think that this guy's going to be an interesting one to watch. I do regret the fact that he's on Tennessee, who's a CPU team, who's probably not going to leverage him the way he should. But I mean, I'd be doing fullback flies and a lot of fullback running plays to this guy. he's got decent blocking skills as well. So I mean, this is probably the steal of the fourth round for me at this point. Right up there with Jimmy Milligan. Who else stood out to me? I'm going to mention these next two. Larry Doherty is a steal at this position. 86 speed, 94 agility. This is a really good coverage linebacker. I was happy to see he was as good as I thought he was. And I'm happy he fell to where I was drafting. Humberto Stego out of Georgia. Pops has also had a really good draft, and this was just yet another good pick for Pops. So great job, Bill. Um, as we move into the fifth round, I would talk about some not so good picks. Cincinnati picking Ricardo Coco is a bad pick. He is a decent accuracy kicker, so I want to be careful with that. But I think there was one kicker in this whole draft that should have been picked first, and it wasn't him. I like the pick of Joseph Marquis um, for the fifth round. This is a good steal by JP, so great job there yet again. Um, I do like this pick from Udo with Martin Jackson. Yeah, the speed's not there, but this is a guy who's got solid agility, good hands. I think he's going to develop. He's a possession wide receiver, so um, will he find his way into the two deep right away? No, but I think over time he's going to turn into a really solid pick for them. I also like this pick from Jamie Starnes from JP. Again, he was like the number two fullback for me, so to get him in the fifth round, that's a really good steal there. The most intriguing pick for me is Billy Craig, 100 agility, 100 hands, yeah, 67 speed, but I would build some plays around this guy because if you hit him in a short game, he is going to be able to get that pass and do something with it. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays. Again, he's on a CPU team, so I don't think we'll ever get to see that. Uh, Invisible Witnesses pick of Alan Bobo. I like this pick. I was pretty high on Alan Bobo. This is a guy who actually could find his way in the starting lineup sooner rather than later. We talked a lot about Ronald McCulloch. He's probably one of SNCFL's all-time passers, uh, and he got nerfed. His arm, I think, in college was like in the 80s. His intelligence was in the 90s. His accuracy was in the 90s. But overall, I think this is a really solid pick. Will he start day one? Maybe he does, but overall, I think picking him Hill by Starfinder was a really solid pick, and I think that it's a pick that he's going to be okay with. So really good find, especially considering that a lot of us felt that he could be a round two or round three quarterback. The other one, I don't like this pick from San Francisco. Again, Stuart Taylor's the guy you should be picking if you're picking a kicker. Anyone outside of that, probably not um, as good. Uh, Brian Marikran's not horrible, but he's not as good as I thought he was. I'm pretty sure that given Prince's pedigree, he'll be able to get something out of this guy in the long term. Uh, the next one is Ruben McSwain. I talked a lot about him. He's not going to start anytime soon for the Steelers, but he's a good development project, especially at guard. He's got really good blocking skills. The problem is his strength and agility and speed is really pretty bad. So this will either be a buzz pick or it'll be a decent pick. I'm still torn on which one it is. And then again, Pops went out and got himself a pretty good defensive end at in the fifth round. So again, just a really solid draft from Pops. Um, Rick went out and got himself two running backs in this round. I'm not as high on Straub. I He's just not one of my favorite running backs. I think that there's better running backs at this position. But Wilson's an intriguing one to see how he develops. Again, he's got that ungodly speed. He's got decent hands. And he knows his position really well. And he's a power runner who has no strength. But I think this is one that will pan out in the long run. So I think James Wilson in the fifth round was a pretty good pick. Uh, those are the ones that stood out to me. There were others that I could probably talk about in more detail, but I don't want to make this a long video. So uh, we're now drafting for the sixth and seventh round, which will run tonight. There's not a lot of value left. What you're looking for here is someone who will make your practice squad, who may make a rotation or contribute, or you're taking a risk because maybe there's something about them that really stands out and they're more of a situational player. I have had picks that I picked in the sixth round actually start. So I think there were a couple people in this round that are still on the board that will have the potential to be able to start. We've talked about some of these, by the way. So at quarterback, Rex Stafford, Steve Ballal, Bradford Castellano, William Palumbo, Craig Glaze are all appropriate picks for this round. Roger Calvin is a dual threat quarterback that you might want to take a look at. Alexander Card, he's got a really weak arm, but accuracy wise, he may be your guy. Running back wise, still Gerardo Colby, Kevin Batiste really are the two guys that stand out. Outside of that, you're really trying to look for something more situational. There were a couple guys in here who are pretty strong. Corey Hinton is another guy maybe to take a look at. But those are really the two big ones. Richard Lay is another guy you might want to look at, but I would look at Colby and Batiste as really the two steals out of this round. Um, Hill, really, it's Anthony Shepard. I don't think that there's another really good fullback on the board at this point. You're better off just looking for free agency outside of him. At guard, there's still a lot of value. You have Robbie, Robinson, Cone, Ziegler, Frick. All of them, I think, are definitely people who could find their way into the uh, lineup within the next few years. Donald Cone is someone I'm very high on. I'm kind of shocked that he's dropped this far. I may try to go after him. I may even try to move up to get him. Uh, but at tackle, the most intriguing one here is probably for the wrong reason is Daniel Naquin, who I think is an excellent blocker, but I think his physical traits are pretty limiting. Uh, Another guy you might want to look at is Rodrigo Webster. Otherwise, I'd wait for free agency unless you just want to burn the pick. Same thing with Sentinel. Lawrence Florine is the only guy I can think of Hill, but there's no depth Hill. Uh, you're better off just waiting for free agency. Tight end, same thing. Better off waiting for free agency, but if you're going to burn a pick, try Don Liggett. Wide receiver again. There are a couple guys here that are worth the pick in this round. Trinidad Taylor, David DeMarco, Mike Mosel, potentially Richard Mattingly, are all guys who I think you stand out to me because I scouted them. But others in this round may actually turn out to be pretty good. But I think outside of those three, you're not going to find a fast wide receiver. Um, you're going to find more of an agility wide receiver who may be good on interior routes. Cornerback, I don't like what's left. I think you're better off waiting for free agency, but if you're going to look to draft someone, Scott Garza out of Pittsburgh, actually, I'm going to amend that. I just remembered something. There is value here. You need to look at Navy. Jeffrey Flores is someone I'm very high on. He is someone I think you should try to reach on. Matthew Consul is not as good, but maybe someone you want to try to reach on. And then if you're just going to reach, try Brian Holloway um, or one of the other guys I mentioned. Linebacker, outside of Joseph Rafferty and Van Nunez, I don't, in Angel Smith, I don't really see much value here. Again, if you're going to throw the pick, throw the pick. Worst case is you're cutting them. You're not going to lose a lot of money on this because these people are generally making $500,000 a year, and if you cut them, it's 20% of that. It's not going to break you against the salary cap. In this round, it's common for me to let this person go, or they sit on my practice squad until someone steals them off my practice squad. Um, but those are really the only guys. And the thing with Van Nunez is I believe he's an inside linebacker. So just take that with a grain of salt, which means he's probably slow. Defensive tackle, really, it's Damon Wood. Otherwise, I would wait. but again, like I've said, if you this is the round where you can throw picks away. Um, Defensive end, no, there are a couple guys left, I guess. Ahmad Alexander stands out to me. Anthony Brewster, Andrew Ziegler are really the three that I think are the better of the group. But Kuntz, Godfrey are people you might want to take a look at for more situational type things like coming in on run packages and things like that. I don't think there's anyone in free safety. I wouldn't even throw the pick here. But again, Nicholas Tompkins may be the guy to take a look at. Uh, Strong safety, William Kenyon, Brent Anderson are two guys to take a look at. Outside of that, I don't think that there's a lot of value here. Kickle, I've mentioned this a few times, and I'm being a little critical of Kickle picks. Um, I truly believe a starting Kickle is Stuart Taylor. And you would get him at obscene value in this round. Uh, Outside of that, from a leg perspective, I think you might want to take a look at Eric Stock. I think he's got a booming leg, but I'm not so sure about his accuracy. Punnel, again, there's really only one guy on this board I think that's even worth the pick at this point, and that would probably be Joseph Dominguez out of Western Michigan. So again, you can find some steals still. Like ones that just stand completely out to me is Batiste is still on the board at running back. Yeah, he's picked as like a late round or an undrafted, but I think he's much better than that. And then really the guards that are still on the board, the top three guards, I think are all worth trying to go after, especially since they've fallen all the way to this round. So that'll be it for the draft after tonight. I will do a recap video of each team and say how I think they did. Um, and then, of course, we'll move into free agency, and I'll probably include in that video a quick view of how I look at free agency. It's going to be boring for Pittsburgh. I've got a lot of what I wanted, and I'm in pretty good shape, so I'm not really worried about really picking anybody up in free agency. Plus, I don't have the cap for it this year because I have a lot of returning players. But I think what stands out to me is Cable's done a really good job in the draft. Peter, when he was drafting, he gave away his little picks, was doing a phenomenal job. Invisible Witness has done a really good job. JP stood out. Kev has stood out. Shark has been making some moves and making some really solid picks. Those are the guys who really right now stand out above all else to me. So if I didn't mention your name, don't get mad at me. But Bio Eagles also had a good game. I think I mentioned Pops already, but those are the guys who I think that they've had a really solid A draft. And then there are a couple they're going for something specific, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like Prince to me has had a solid draft. Stewart's kind of had an up and down draft, but I'll talk more about that when I talk about the teams. But overall, I think everybody's done a really good job. Each team has like one or two really good picks. I think from a CPU perspective, Seattle has had a phenomenal draft. So if you were interested in coming into the league, I'd definitely take a look at Seattle. Tennessee is another one to take a look at. They've had a pretty good draft and they have some intriguing players as well. And then Buffalo is another one that I would take a look at if you want to join the league. So that's it for today, and hopefully you liked the video. And I'll put the links if you want to join our league. But tonight will be the last two rounds of the draft, and then after that, one to free agency, and sometime maybe next week or the week after, we will actually start the regular season. So thank you for your time. Hope you liked the video. Talk to you later.